Welcome to Fact or Freestyle.
People love Dave Nourie, and they always answer the phone when he calls. When we get him on Zoom, we ask him to confirm rumors.
Let's see how far down the rabbit hole we go.
I don't know why, but this you guys are making me laugh already.
Joe, he did say something about not wanting to have his name posted.
He doesn't want to be detected via a search engine.
We could just be, as far as maybe you could, I don't know how you can handle that, Joe, but that's on you.
I think his name, we can make a
Simon?
We can make an anagram out of it.
That's crazy.
I have a funny story. I'm not sure if the questions you sent me were, the point of the questions were to distract me, so you're not going to ask them anyways, but
No, he's on to us.
Marty and I have had conversations, and I think I may have tipped the cards a little too much.
But I have a funny story about Bob Harrow, but maybe I tell you that if you happen to ask something, but you know, we never handshaked each other.
You never shook his hand. Okay.
I met him back in 2019 Cologne Masters, and he was there with Matt Hoffman, and they were selling t-shirts, and you know, I knew Matt since the X Games era back in the 2000 something, and back then I was like, when I saw Matt, I was like, hey, what's up, Matt? And we kind of, you know, shared what's going on and so on. And then I didn't see Matt since I think 2003, and finally at the 2019 Masters I saw Matt, and he was with Bob Harrow, so I was all excited. Hey Matt, what's up? You know, really friendly, and you know, I was expecting him to remember me too, but Matt was kind of like, and then Bob Harrow was weirded out as well, and it was a moment of little bit embarrassment from my side. I was like, oh, how do I get out of here? You know, like started.
Oh God, Marty!
And I'm like, I'm not gonna buy a T-shirt from these guys. You know, I don't know what to do. They didn't shake my hand. I was like all excited, and it just, you know, destroyed the mood because they were all like looking at each other like, who's that guy? You know, like.
Oh my God. Do you know if it was before the show or after the show that we did? Because we did a Harrow show.
I think it was before the show.
Okay. Because I know Matt crashed pretty hard that show, so maybe, you know, that was part of it. But
yeah, that's you know, and you know, sometimes we just forget people. It's not a big deal, but you know, I was actually hoping to handshake Bob Harrow, but the way they both kind of, you know, went like this, I was like, I don't want to handshake that guy.
Dave, when did you start eating kale? Are you a new kale person, or have you been like kale for years?
It's been a while. I mean, I would say like my wife, Paula, who we've been together 16 years now, she pretty much really shifted my diet was not so great before I was with Paula. Let's just say I don't eat fast food hardly ever, and mostly organic, and yeah, just the kale and the greens and fermented food because it's really good for your gut.
Are we doing the scene from Pulp Fiction? Okay. Where Jules doesn't eat hamburgers because his wife's a health food?
I said to Joe, he wants the questions ahead of time, so we're gonna have to think this through. What did you do, Marty, 10 minutes ago? And what did you do 10 months ago? And what do you see yourself doing in 10 years?
10 minutes ago, I probably texted Joe, can we do this earlier?
Right.
Because I didn't have anything to do, so I just put our kid to sleep, and I was sitting on our sofa, and yeah, I figured that why not do it a bit earlier. So I didn't do nothing actually, just texted Joe. That's it. And 10 months ago, I need to rewind a little bit. Which month was that?
September.
Yeah.
September.
End of September.
I was probably sitting on this chair doing something on my computer, nothing special. Yeah, because it's been a lockdown year last year, so I know that I spent a lot of time at home, and usually when our kid goes to sleep around this time,
Marty's in there always editing, always working on the next contest series, the MK format, and you're enjoying your leisure time, and that's important.
To be very honest, I've been stopping to work in the evenings because I've been feeling that it has a slightly negative impact on my sleep. So
okay, and then 10 years from now,
all in all, I'll be probably doing pretty much same stuff I'm doing right now for work, and maybe a little bit of with a little bit different twist. I have a plan what I will be doing then, but nothing dramatic changes. So,
and your plan sounds top secret.
No, it's not top secret. Not top secret. Yeah. I'm planning. I mean, Joe knows about this, but I'm planning to start coaching more different type of athletes than just BMX flatlanders. Mindfulness meditation coach. That's what I'm aiming to do, and I'm thinking that Flatland. It's really nice to coach Flatland, but there are many other athletes as well out there who needs help.
Basically, did this link that you hit it on the third try, and you talked about overthinking things and being in the moment and being in your body, and I totally related to that. I remember at the end of it you said something like, am I making sense here, or does anyone else relate to that? And I just thought it was perfect that I read that this morning. And for me, how I related to it is what I was writing.
Will spin or cliffhanger type of thing. You tested my memory.
Yeah, and then a decade at the end, and you just decided to do a decade because you're in the moment.
And what you had COVID here, which was just
and
that's a magical state to get into. I remember, just as you're telling the story, I learned jump of doom, frame stand to bar ride in a show when I was 17. And then the next year, I learned Pop-Tart in a show when I was 18 or something like that. I was 16 and 17, something like that. I felt totally good and invincible, and everything that I needed to dial in, I could see in bullet time. It comes and goes now, but if you can make a button to have that feeling, that is that's superpower.
The first times I started to have these experiences with this thing was when I learned some new tricks. Some of the coolest tricks or the hardest tricks I learned was by the accident. I was just playing around. I'm like, whoop, what happened? And I actually pulled a pretty hard trick. But the problem came when I started trying it again, and I started thinking and analyzing and thinking, what should I do to pull it again? And I ended up trying it 5,000 times.
Right.
You see, there's a problem. And with the meditation, the mindfulness meditation stuff, I understand now, and I understand how to do it without thinking. And there was a couple of things, and at least one thing at the Flat Dark final that I was not thinking, I was trusting, and I was knowing. I knew that I can do it, inside of me, without thinking that, yeah, you can do it. I was just, in the zone. It's called a flow state of mind, and instead of thinking, you just start trust yourself that but it takes a lot of work before you have to do a lot of repeats with the movements and so on in order to get to that point. But yeah, it's a beautiful place to be. So in my 10-year plan, I'll be teaching this way of practicing to other athletes as well, and that's my mission.
The Battle of the Rockies in 2016, and there was a lot of pressure. And Joe, can I tell that story, or am I just taking up too much time?
No, please tell that story. Is it the one where you invented the Gumby before your run to take the pressure off?
Joe's always
or is it a different one? So there was something else about that year that I'm just remembering right now. So that was after Donald Trump got caught on camera saying, "Grab them by the pussy,"
Right.
And James hit me up and he's like, man, I want to get Steingraber here, but we don't have any budget. And I was like, Steingraber, huh? Michael Steingraber by the posse. Michael Steingraber by the food court. And I paid Michael Steingraber's plane ticket so that I could take pictures of Michael Steingraber next to things and comment, Michael Stein, this is Steingraber by the, and that's what I did all, that's what I did all weekend.
Your mind is just, it never ceases to amaze me. Like that's the kind of thing that you consider putting your harder money towards, just another thing that you can kind of just put out there and publicize. And
that was so much fun.
Hey everybody, so here's the time. This is when we're going to come in and do the Flatland Fuel $20 gift certificate giveaway. There's going to be a code that flashes on the screen. Go, write this down and go immediately to Flatland Fuel. Buy something, enter this code. It will be a total pain in the ass. It's like 20 characters long. Go ahead and get your money and buy some bike parts from Flatland Fuel because they're sponsoring the show now.
You know, I was joking when I was asking the questions before.
No, so
that's my dry sense of humor.
No, but you got us so good because I thought, Marty, this is Marty.
Dave calls me and he goes, all right, Joe, Marty asked that we send him the questions. So we got to send him the questions. And then yesterday in the middle of the day, I was working and he's like, we got to talk about Marty's questions because we got to talk about Marty's questions. And I'm like, Dave, if this is the middle of my day, what am I? He's like, we got to talk about Marty's questions.
So Marty, thanks for joining us today. And we had some questions. Can you tell us about when you came back in 2015? How was that for you?
Nathan.
Hey, Martti, Kuoppa.
That's the guy who taught me English.
I was your teacher. Good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you. How long has it been? It's been like, I don't know, 20 years.
Nathan, what did you have for breakfast today?
Hey, Dave, I had Wheaties.
Wheaties?
Yeah.
A Canadian Wheaties or American Wheaties?
Well, they're probably the same. Canada and the US, we have the same everything. Between the borders, we still have all our merchandise passing and coming from the US and Canada.
Yeah, Dave, they got the same thing over there that we got over here.
Yeah.
Except there, it's just a little different.
And you are how far from the city? Like you're out in a country, I know that, but how far are you from?
I'm on an island way up in Desolation Sound, and Vancouver is about a day trip by car and boat and ferries to get to Vancouver. Martti.
What were you doing 10 minutes ago? What were you doing 10 months ago, and what do you see yourself doing in 10 years?
10 minutes ago, I was just watching the Zohan movie by Adam Sandler. 10 years ago, I was driving my van from Canada to Chile. And where do I see myself in 10 years? I see myself winding down in this place, this beautiful place that I live, that you guys need to come and visit. In 10 years, I want to be here fishing and setting my prawn traps and crab traps and just enjoying life. No stress.
There was just one thing about the English thing. You understood the English language wrong because he asked you 10 months ago, not 10 years ago.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Kuoppa. I was here 10 months ago. Of course, COVID's happened, so I haven't been able to go anywhere to travel.
What riders out there do you highly respect and why?
The riders I used to have posters on my walls when I was younger. They were Dave Smith, Edgar Plasencia, Jesse Puente, Kevin Jones, Chase, and Phil Dolan. Yeah, those are the names that were on my wall when I was a kid. And then I started to travel, and I actually started to travel with Nathan. So obviously there was a respect, between each other of us. I was looking up to him, and we were just pushing each other. So that was the Nathan, and then Vicky came in, and so on. So I was always looking up to the guys I was riding with when I was traveling, and then we all got very competitive, and I guess we got sort of past about the idea of idolizing other people in that sense, and we were just doing our own thing, and you know, didn't have any posters on my walls anymore about riders and so on, something like that, you know. So these days I don't really have anybody that you know, I don't want people to think I'm an asshole, but this is the way it is. I don't really follow Flatland that much. That I'm you know, I see the videos whenever they're coming out, but I don't have like the same feeling anymore that wow, I'm really, you know, looking up to this person right now. Those are tricks, and most likely, moreover, I'm you know, looking up to the people who are very nice, humble people, nice people.
What age did you learn English?
My very first memory of English was when I was 12 years old, and I wrote a letter to Kevin Jones, and maybe I had been 13, but I could not speak a word of English. And the way I wrote the letter to Kevin was that I picked up the Finnish English dictionary and I just put word after word after word. So, you know, just combining words. And I actually sent it to Hoffman Bikes, and, you know, somehow I put words together that please forward this letter to Kevin Jones, something like that. So that's my very first English lesson right there.
And was he able to write you back within weeks or months? How long did it?
No, nobody never replied on that email or letter, because we didn't have emails back then. So that was a handwritten letter.
So have you been writing back to fans? Because this happened to Ron Wilkerson. He wrote to Elton John, never wrote him back, and he said, I'm going to respond to every fan letter.
Marty's very short with his words, short and clear, right? Very Scandinavian, to the point, and that's it. You don't need to elaborate or talk too much like the Spanish do. But a lot of the creativity and artisticness came from Spain. For the BMX came from living in Spain, and the flamenco and the gypsies and the dancing and the music, a lot of that. But the stoic, cold kind of short sentence structure that Martti would have as responses to people is very normal. I have a quick memory of writing letters to Edgar Plasencia, and he would write to me in Spanish. Nice. And that was the beginning of my contact with the Flatland Fugitives, was Sean McKinney, Leo Dumlau, Nate Hansen, Edgar, all those awesome dudes. That scene of Southern California was amazing.
Yeah. I would like you to recite a poem. Do you have a poem that you can recite? And could you do one in Spanish? Because that would be really amazing.
I can, but I don't think Martti is also part of the conversation. I don't think he wants to hear a Spanish poem.
Well, he can just go get a drink.
Okay, hold on. Okay, I found one in English. It's from the One Mighty Murray River in the 23rd of December 2009 in Albury, Australia, and it's in English. Just because we're doing English, so I don't want to show off my Spanish. And it's a short one, so it's about a minute long. The rippling of life. This is the biggest river in Australia. It's the Murray River, which is a big, long, meandering river on just north of Melbourne. The rippling of life, drifting hits, splashing hands, laughs, and gentle screams, warm and joyous in this Christmas summer. Waves of deafening shrieks down the wild fields, leaves shudder in tremulous dance. River birds land gracefully, following in the flow. Swinging kids plunge into the murky shallows from the heights of Eucalyptus Branch. Holiday festive fluvial passages, the Grand Murray with a cool meander swirls by, a timeless energy that give place and meaning to life at its turmoil edge.
Nice. Very well done. We talked about that, Nathan. In '99, you won that contest, the BS contest, and you beat Andrew Ferris, right? That was the guy that got second.
Dave, I saw Joe. Where's Joe?
I'm here.
Oh, but where city are you in?
I'm in Ohio. I'm in
You're
Columbus,
in
Ohio.
Are you in Warren?
No, that's where Zach Yankish is from. That's next to Pennsylvania. I grew up around Cleveland, and so I would go hang out with the guys in Youngstown. quite a bit. I stayed over.
Scott
I stayed over. Oh, yeah, Scott Powell. Definitely, Scott Powell is my mentor. He gives me tips on everything.
Hi, Scott.
We just had him on
That's
the show
awesome.
last week.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, he was great.
Cool.
Very, very humble, Marty.
Yeah.
He was very humble.
Scott.
Yeah.
You're
Oh.
right. Look at that.
I just want to go back to this 1999 contest because that's pretty cool. That I actually just watched the clip the other day. But how was it? So you beat Andrew Ferris. Andrew Ferris got second. Did you put any Coke on his rims like right before his run, or like how did that all work out?
Is that to me?
Yes.
Oh, was that a California contest?
Yes, it was a BS contest.
Oh,
Which
Oceanside.
one?
Oh,
The
okay,
nine-
yeah. Andrew got second. I ended up winning that contest somehow, amazingly. That was my first win at any major contest, pro. And no, I would never mess with another rider's bike to beat them. I always tried to focus and relax my nerves before my contest. And I don't remember seeing the clips, but I guess I did something right that day.
Yeah, the reason we asked that is because we had heard, Joe, what was it was it Chad DeGroot that had said something that somebody might have put some Coke, it was some X game contest anyhow.
So this is the butterfly effect that ultimately led to the Master being canceled and for you to be in the X Games, Dave.
But there was some talk about Coke on rims that, yeah, we haven't really got down to the bottom of it.
I wouldn't have done that. If another rider beat me in with their own skill, I would never sabotage someone's bike to try and beat them.
So we have a factor freestyle for you, Nathan. Joe, why don't you lead into this one?
Fact or freestyle? A shadowy cabal of elite riders engage in the practice of contest insurance to calm their nerves before the final battle.
So Nathan, we heard this thing. So there's a factor freestyle. We heard this thing called contest insurance. And apparently when it comes down to the two guys in the final battle for first and second, the riders will agree to split the money no matter what happens, to take the pressure off. Have you ever encountered this? Is this real, this contest insurance thing?
I understand that, but that was kind of something that Bicky Gomez and I already did. We were in the finals in a contest in England. Bicky Gomez, another Spaniard, and we were at a contest and we were in the top whatever. And Bicky said, "If you get first and I get second, let's just split the money." So it had ended up that I got first, he got second, and we just split the winnings. So there was no pressure about beat the battle between us. Like Marty and I have had always been, not always, but a lot quite high levels, and that we were in the top 5. I can see how that would take the pressure off the riders. But part of that little spark of trying to do well was always was definitely, as Marty knows, trying to get a top position, because being a Flatlander, it was hard to make a living and be a professional bike rider. I mean, it was, if you looked at people's salaries, we weren't making half of what vert riders were making. So contest finishings were very important for winnings. So in a sense, like our earning or our salary, it was really important to get top 5, because then we could continue to ride and practice. Whereas if we didn't get top 5, then you're not making very much money. So it was really important to try and get the highest you could to make a half reasonable living. I don't know, Marty, how he feels.
I have a funny story about this, actually. Not about the splitting the first place prize money, but I have a story about Nathan and me going to a competition.
So Nathan, did I interpret your story correctly that you invented contest insurance?
No, I wouldn't say that I invented that. It was kind of a personal thing between Bicky and I at that one contest. There was no, but I get the philosophy. It takes the stress off the riders, but no, I didn't invent contest insurance.
We'll have to continue to dig, Joe.
Yeah,
This
because
come up-
we've
this has
heard
come
of
up.
yeah, we've heard of this, that it continues to happen today. Rumors that it continues to happen to this day. So we're trying to track it down.
Well, we had the one, the mouth posing. We were trying to figure out if people in the 80s had contracts.
My favorite memory of New Orleans is driving from Los Angeles to Florida with a car full of Japanese guys and passing through New Orleans during the Mardi Gras. And I showed the Japanese guys, I showed them the trick of how you give the beats to the girls. And the Japanese guys were just they were blown away. Okay, well, I was in Japan, and I went to all the Japanese riders are very hospitable in Japan, as you guys know. They're super nice. And they took me to outdoor hot springs. And and of course we have this thing where if you're, the first thing they do is they all get naked, like not very normal for us North Americans. So they're all the Japanese guys are standing around waiting for me to take my underwear off. And I did, and I got in the hot springs and we had a great time, but that was quite embarrassing to having everybody checking out underneath my underwear when I took my underwear off. That was a funny little anecdote, but
It was kind of this adventure world, like it was a SeaWorld. So they had the Shamu and the whole dolphin show, and they also had a wild animal park. And I remember how cool it was because in the States, I've done the shows at SeaWorld and other amusement parks, and they're very, very uptight about us riding our bikes around the amusement park. Insurance is always such a factor. Not in Japan. They were like, oh yeah, you guys can just go ride your bikes and go promote the show. And we just had so much fun. So I'll share a story.
Is this the one where you did the naked Gumby in Japan?
No, Joe. I know you want to do a naked Gumby story. Because Wilkerson was on the call one time and he brought up the naked Gumby, and Joe just can't let it rest. He wants to do t-shirts of silhouettes of naked Gumby.
Naked Gumby.
Is that fact or freestyle?
I only know about the first naked Gumby.
Ron, this is not for that. This
actually is the right time.
No, Joe.
Actually, I don't, Dave, you remember this? We were doing a live show in Germany on TV, and it was a live show, and we were talking about, Dave, go do a naked Gumby right now. And we were cracking up. You and me and Brian were dying talking about Dave's gonna do a naked Gumby, and we were like dying in this live show in Germany.
Wasn't Brian gonna give me his truck? He had the Nissan lower truck.
Yes,
right?
yes, yes.
And
I was give you his truck if you did a naked Gumby.
Does the offer still stand? I mean, Dave, you can get a car and $1,000.
Yeah, well, sure. Naked Gumby, naked Gumby picture.
I'm gonna tell you a funnier story with me and Nathan.
okay.
While on the road. This happened in Los Angeles a long time ago, and we were with Chad from Intricat, Chad Johnson. Because we were filming a lot for Chad's videos, so we were hanging out a lot with Chad, and Chad had been a childhood friends with the Korn band from Bakersfield.
That was a rad.
Yeah, so one day, we got together and Chad said, hey, let's go to the studio where his buddies are recording a new song. And we end up going to a studio in Hollywood, and there was Ice Cube and Korn. And we were young kids and very excited that there's the Debo from the Ice Cube's movies, and there's Ice Cube and there's Korn, and let's get drunk and so on. So we were wild, and I ended up sleeping under Ice Cube's because I got a little too loose, and I ended up going to knock myself out under Ice Cube's BMW on the parking lot, and then we ended up going to sleep over at the Korn's, one of the Korn's. I don't know who he was, but I think the guy with the dreadlocks. Or do they all have dreadlocks?
Yeah, right.
Stayed at his house overnight. Yeah. So
that was a house in Huntington Beach. They bought that house for partying only. It wasn't for living, and it was a house only for partying. And you remember, Marty, when we got in, the corn guys said, "Hey guys, open the fridge," and we opened the fridge, and it was a big fridge, and it had only Coors Light.
Coors Light? Like, that's the worst beer ever.
No, but they hadn't lost their authentic roots from Bakersfield, California.
yeah, that's a pretty famous Ice Cube and Korn song.
And
So we were background when Ice Cube was rapping that song.
I remember Ice Cube looking over at us and saying, "You white boys are the guys that buy my album. How do you like this?" And you Marty, you were like, "It's a great song, Ice Cube."
We have been asking people who did what first. And we've had lots of, like James McGraw doing the backwards rubber ride a few hours before R.L. Osborne did it. And as we've been asking these guys who did it first and what counts, to our surprise, well, to my surprise, the majority of these folks have said, who gives a shit? It doesn't matter who did what first. But then like things like Matt Hoffman would give props to Mike D for doing the 900, even though Mike didn't do it even though when Mike did it, he didn't, like he always crashed when he did it on camera. So one of the questions we've had is like, do you have to pull it flawlessly in order for it to count? And as I've posed this to Dave, Dave has kind of encouraged, how would you describe it, Dave?
Well, I think it's like you said, many of the riders that we've had on have talked about, well, yeah, I created this trick and I named it. I got it in the magazine, you know, that back in the 80s, or I was able to post in my edit first or do it in a contest first. And 99% of the time people are like, and someone could have been doing the same trick across the globe or down the street or who knows. And that really there hasn't been a whole lot about who invented what, like people don't really have that much invested into it. And I feel like Joe is a little bit, you're just.
He caught me because I was overly fixated on it. And he said, Joe, is there anything that maybe you want to admit? Because
oh, you're going there. You're talking about
the source.
Joe, we already covered that. Joe, I think we got that all hashed out. God.
Well, okay.
You're gonna take these guys' time. I mean, we should.
I am gonna take these guys' time. So I just kind of need a ruling on this.
Oh my God, I can't believe you're doing this again, Joe. This is, man, like he's had this on like the last 5 shows. Okay, go ahead, Joe. You got the whole. This is your bit.
So we recognize this. This is Sebastian Keep from 2015, right?
But you didn't pull it, right?
Well, when they came out with it, we saw this.
Well, for 2 years we saw that. But then in 2017, he did his documentary.
Whoa, that's insane. Whoops.
But then he blew the ride out. So
that's crazy.
Joe.
So this happened to me as well. And just to be clear, this is a crackpacker, no-handed jump to ankle pinch, no-handed backyard. And so the question I think the question I am posing to you guys is, does it count?
That counts.
That doesn't count.
The boss speaks. The boss speaks.
The boss, Marty.
Well, you know, I am quite strict about that, but you know, you did pull the jump, but you pulled it 99% clean.
Okay, so
It's-
we
it's
asked.
better. Yeah.
So once I have gotten past the whiplashes, I am going to redeem. This is what we're going to be, Marty. This is what we're going to be training for. Once the whiplashes are in the bag, all effort is going to go back to that, and I'm going to work with Scott Hagnes to probably have to lose.
I do
20,
understand
25.
Nathan's opinion that it's pulled and it counted, but at the end of the day, you didn't pull it. Really, but there's evidence you didn't pull it.
You posted this, Joe, too. Didn't you post it somewhere? And
Yes, quite a lot of goodness came out of this, and I'm glad to finally get this off my shoulders, because there was this Red Bull app called Clash'em, where like you could swipe right or swipe left, and they were 5-second clips. Well, Matthias and Vicky were on there, and when I added that clip, I started to beat these guys, and I ended up winning Clash'em like 4 months in a row before they shut it down. So a lot of goodness came out of this clip, and I did it in 2016. And so I think I got to man up and work on dialing it, because looking back,
My point is that you could have easily pulled it after you did the major hard part.
But he didn't. But he didn't. But he didn't.
but he didn't.
I ended up kicking the crank, and the pedal was right up against my ankle, and I freaked out.
But that Sebastian Keep definitely didn't pull his wall ride thing.
Right. And he came clean too in this documentary. So it must feel good that you've at least got this out. People now know.
Well, that's 50% of it, because Sebastian came clean, but he didn't go back to do it. I'm going to have to go back and do it.
Okay. And Marty's got 99%. That's not bad. I mean, 99%, you could ride that for a while. You know,
I could ride that for a while, but I think
a lot of pressure.
This is going to haunt me. This is going to haunt me.
The 1%, missing 1% is gonna haunt you more than missing 50%, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, this is my mission. That's a humble brag. God damn it.
Joe, you're just relentless. You just won't let me get away with anything. But my
point. Well, no one's getting away with anything on this show.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, so I guess I could, you know, in support of you, you can pick the 3 tricks that I've only done once, and I will do it again just to kind of help you through this challenge. So you get to pick whatever trick. I did a pedal spin, bar spin. I've only done that, pulled it only once. I did, what was the other one I did that I only did once? The Naked Gumby.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Yes.
What do you guys think about people posting tricks of, pictures of the tricks that there's no way they can roll in that position?
Oh, right. So I
Joe's
think this is the greatest thing, because I can bust this guy's balls endlessly, and there's nothing he can say because he knows he was damn wrong.
I agree, Marty.
Oh, I got 2 for 2. I got 2 for 2. All right, well, I guess that's my challenge then, Joe, right there. I got to do some kind of one-handed handstand variation.
The whole point is that you transform yourself in the pursuit of the trick. The trick, that's just the prize at the end. The real reward is everything that you went through to get to the point of doing that trick. The trick is an afterthought.
But if you go there first and you go to the prize first, and you just try to cash in. So what are you saying? You just can't cash in on the prize first?
Well, they have a word for that. They have a term for that.
Amateur.
For that. It's called. It's
What'd you
called
say,
poser.
amateur? What did you say?
You can't. It is literally being called a poser, where you show up and you capture credit for something that you didn't earn, and it ultimately is a hollow feeling, because the whole point, the whole thing that makes riders and makes them good at everything they do, is that they are transforming themselves to get to that thing that they've never done before. They're literally opening up their own doors, and when you just get airdropped in, it's fake. It will haunt you, Dave, if you do this.
All right, I won't cross over that.
I went 99%, and it has haunted me. And I'm just warning you, I implore you, do not give yourself that type of anguish. It will torture you.
Okay.
This is could be a deeper topic, but I thought about it the other day, that what is it that makes a trick hard, and like some of the tricks you do might be very difficult for me because I never tried them before.
Right.
And from the old school era, for example, one trick that comes to my mind is Miami hop bar flips. I've seen who did it. It's still a hard trick today, like give me one new school rider who would do it tomorrow.
Yeah, we talked
Even
about
with the lock-in brake levers. It's not an easy trick.
Yeah.
So,
and we talked about that too. Like, what would it be like to have a contest series where you would take the current new school rider and they got to pick a run from the 80s and do that run, right? So picture Mattias doing, I don't know, a Dennis McCoy. What would
locomotive footwork?
Yeah, footwork.
Mattias doing Dennis McCoy footwork.
Yeah. I think that would be a funny
freestyle.
I think it's just evolution on what becomes popular at the time and what people see as popular. Like the guy saying to you, Dave, about, did you think you win the contest? And you're thinking, well, all these guys are doing new school tricks. But I think it's kind of the evolution of what is popular visually and feeling at that time for the riders and the group of people that are looking at each other going, well, that's hard. I think it's just a period of time where certain things are seen as better than others.